Are you going to have me muted?
Hey. Well, hello there. How are you, Madam Tanya, Madam Cassie? How are
We
y'all,
are
ladies?
great. How are you, Madam President?
Great,
Doing
thank you.
We're back
awesome.
again.
We are back at it again.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So glad to see everybody. We're back on a Facebook Live for our series 3, episode 1. And this series, ladies and gentlemen, is titled The Boss Lady. You know, Tanya, I think that you did such an amazing job last series with The Boss Ladies. That by popular demand, we decided to bring a whole series for The Boss Lady.
Excellent. Excellent.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on for another series with the amazing Madam President, Letitia, and of course, the outstanding Madam Cassie Stanley. I did want to touch base on what the Urban Dictionary definition of the boss lady, and it is the woman who is in control. People see her and instantly feel her and feel the need to respect her. She runs the show. She's cool, calm, and collected and gets the job done. She's confident, never looks down, demands respect, and gets it. And who else to have Madam President Letitia and Madam Cassie for the history of the boss lady to basically wrap up Women's History Month?
I think that it's important. It's always important to start there. So I'm excited, definitely to hear that, and definitely to be looked at myself as a boss lady. So often we think, and I think that this series is really about that balance, right? Because we run so much and with our businesses, and potentially some of us even in our homes, and we're looked at as being the boss lady. And then there's that stigma of being a diva when you're a boss lady. So not all of us are divas. We get it, like Madam Tanya said. Madam Cassie.
Yes, I think that we're known, I've heard that old saying, a prima donna, the one who thinks that she's truly in charge, the female. And
Yeah.
so we are the prima donnas of the Women's Council of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And we're still celebrating Women's Month. And this group is made
Yeah.
up of some awesome ladies. And we're so glad that we have the opportunity to participate in the professional women in real estate. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam Tanya, us being the boss lady.
Yes. So, for those of you that do not know, we are the ladies of Women's Council of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. I stand as the current president, and I am extremely proud to be the president of Women's Council of National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And you are listening or tuning in to the Professional Women in Real Estate, and it is our live broadcast. And this month, we are highlighting those fabulous women. And then in the series, we're going to have some very specific topics as it relates to women leadership. You know, we have to empower each other. So right now, we're really talking about the history of the boss lady. And one of the things that we really wanted to touch on during this session before we introduce you guys to all of the other episodes is that these women have a history. We all came from somewhere. We didn't just, as they say, arrive, right? So many of us had to go through so many different challenges to be here. And we just wanted to kind of highlight that and be grateful for the I always say that the success is in the journey, because it is what you learn as you go through those challenges that that brings you to where you are. So thank you guys again for tuning in. And Madam Tanya, I will pass it on over to you as our co-chair of the Professional Women in Real Estate.
So I did a little bit of research, and there's a few things that kind of coincide with the history of the boss lady, and we can go all the way back to the women's suffrage movement. And it's in the workplace, which will be our follow-up episode of challenges in the workplace. And if we look back, those same challenges are still very much present today. But instead of me generalizing the history of the boss lady, I actually wanted to ask you, Madam Cassie, since that we have you on, that what was your history of becoming a boss lady, and what was the biggest challenge that you faced, and how did you overcome that?
Well, of course, I started out in the corporate world as well, in management, running the $1 million companies. And my thing was, I always wanted to know what the boss knew, because I never wanted to be unprepared if someone had reached out to me. So I started in the corporate world. Then I moved into the real estate profession, and my goal was always to be the broker. So my goal was always to reach the top. And so I did that. Of course, there was challenges. When I started out, even in the real estate business a long, long time ago, we had to show photos to take the test. So you ladies wouldn't know anything about that. But way, way back, you were judged by your color. So if you didn't have the right color, you may not have passed that real estate exam. And so I was determined that I was going to pass the real estate exam and move into the brokerage. And that's what I did. And so that was a challenge for me, because my first test, I made 74.9, but they would not give me the 75. And so to me, that was a challenge. And the fact that they didn't want enough of us in the industry way back. Now it's a lot easier. Of course, because I am grandfathered in, so I don't have to take all those continuing education classes that you ladies have to take as brokers. But I take it because I want to be educated. And so I moved into that arena, and then I moved into accounting. I moved into a lot of different areas, but at the same time, they never wanted a woman who had her own mind. You know, you had to kind of take the back seat to the men, but I was always vocal and knew who I was, and I made a stand on who I was as a female. So that was a challenge, but I overcame. And so because of that, I'm here today to say that you can do whatever you want to do. Just know who you are. Know your purpose. Stay in your lane, because we were all created differently, but for a reason. And that was the reason God put Adam to sleep. He knew he needed a woman, right? So he had to put him to sleep so he could take a part of the rib to get the woman, because he knew what we would be in this world to a man.
Amen. Amen. Okay, Madam Letitia, I'm going to direct the same question at you. What has been your journey, the biggest hurdle in your journey in becoming your own boss lady, and how did you overcome that?
Oh my goodness. So my journey as a boss lady, I will almost say that I just kind of fell into this, right? Well, I worked for a corporate investment bank. I was laid off. And I'd been laid off 3 different times before I was 30 years old. And after that third layoff, you kind of realize God must have something else for me. So I was introduced to the real estate industry, and I was almost forced into this position because it was not a desire. I never desired to own my own business. It wasn't something that I had thought about, but evidently it was something that I was ordained to do.
Exactly.
So sometimes we just have to sit back and we have to follow the path. I taught 6th grade math, so I'm a big proponent of building blocks and building steps. Your yesterday is what builds your today, and your today will build your tomorrow. So because of that, I kind of had to take a look at it, and I thought to myself, well, there is something else that's out there for me. So when I started my brokerage, had no anticipation of actually having a brokerage with employees and with agents. But my phone kept ringing. And was like, oh, wait, hold on. Something's going on here. So again, it wasn't me, it was God speaking. And so now here I am as a owner, and I am 43 years old, and I've been a broker owner for the past 11 and a half years, going on 12. So needless to say, I was in my 30s when I formed my brokerage. So when we talk about challenges, let's not only talk about challenges of being an African American female, but being a young African American female. So the requirement of people taking you seriously and understanding that you do mean business when you show up into a room, it almost had to be proven so often that it would become a little wearing. However, as an only child, what I don't believe in no. I just believe that maybe this is not the way or the route that God has for me today, but I will get a yes if I keep pushing. And that's exactly what I had to do. I had to overcome that. So I would say that was probably my biggest challenge, is being a boss lady. The one thing that I never, ever wanted it to do was to change whom I was as a person. So I always wanted to remain humble. I always wanted to be respectful and polite. And so regardless to how others treated me, I ensured that I always treat everybody with respect. So yeah, that's my journey.
Amen. Amen. I would say that my journey of becoming, I guess, a boss lady, and it's a journey that I'm still on and still very much learning every single day, it really started with the birth of my son. I realized how much time had been wasted when I became a mother. And I realized, oh my God, I could have been doing so much more in the time that I had before I became a mom. Like, what was I even doing? I was engaged and became a mom, and then I realized, I really just have to make smarter moves and smarter decisions in terms of my career. And when I decided to make the leap to be a title company owner, at that time, I was privately training attorneys, real estate attorneys, for them to launch their own real estate firms. And I just thought, there's something wrong here. I'm training all of these people privately in the background and having these meetings and doing these multi-million-dollar closings. And I had worked my way up in such a small period of time. I'm like, I think it's time to make a bet on myself. And the bet really was when I was working for a law firm, and the attorney that I worked with, I was like, it's just time for me to go. And he was just like, Tanya, name your price. And I'm like, oh my God, am I worth that much? And when he was like, name your price, I was like, now I know I definitely have to go. That was the validation that I needed to take the bet on myself. But the biggest hurdle was probably the doubts from others. There wasn't a lot of people in my industry that looked like me, that were as young. So I just kind of felt a little insecure in that realm. But what really kept me going was really just my son. And so here I am, and I've been doing it for 14 years.
Right.
I love it.
Well, that brings me back to, I was always managing large $1 million companies, and I'm saying, why am I doing this? Obviously, I'm supposed to be good in management, right? So if I can manage your $1 million companies, I can surely do this for me. So I did brokerage firms with over 130 agents. I'm saying, something wrong with this picture, right? Why am I managing their brokerage company? I should be managing my own. So I finally realized I had a journey to take. I had to step out in faith, because obviously I had the ability. Everybody saw it, but I just didn't see it. But I was making them money. So that was part of my journey.
Okay, so now that I have the history of all of our boss ladies on the line, I did want to know that if you had your own personal representation of what you considered a boss lady that you looked up to in your own personal realm or professional realm. And Madam Cassie, I will start with you.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I would think a boss lady would be a person who has the ability to manage others, because you're just as good as the people beneath you. So you've got to learn. A true leader learns the talents of the people with them. And so I think that just being able to build yourself up and have people who will be with you no matter what, is part of my considering a good boss lady, seeing the best in others instead of focusing on yourself. I think that, and good management, time management, but mostly leading others to be the best that they can be.
Madam Letitia.
Oh my goodness. So let me just tell you guys, you said my personal realm. So personally, but I also want to share a celebrity that I look at as being a boss lady. But personally, I would say that that would be my grandmother. My grandmother didn't work. She raised her kids while my grandfather went to work. But she had the ability, she would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get him together, get her kids together, get them off to school. She would prepare lunch, take care of the house. But she wasn't bossy. She had a way to ensure that everything operated just as it should without her being looked at as a diva or as bossy. But her time management skills was something that I am striving to have. So I look at her personally in my personal realm as being a boss lady, and I absolutely love her. Unfortunately, she passed away here not too long ago, but the things that we have been able to learn for her, it's just invaluable. But if I were to say a celebrity, Candy Burris.
Really?
She owns several businesses, and if you look at her businesses, her family works with her.
Yeah.
So, as a boss, she doesn't leave anyone behind. And I don't know her personally. And, maybe someone on this line listening, they do, and they would know if what we see is actually what we get. But what I see is that I see that she's pulling others behind her with her. She is a boss lady. She runs, like I said, several different businesses, and she is out there. So I absolutely love. I follow her on Instagram just so that I can just kind of get something from her and just be a better person myself.
That is awesome. That is great. I love knowing that your grandmother was such a stronghold in your life, and but then you also have like this other professional aspiration of where you want to go to. And Madam Cassie, I would say that would kind of tie into, especially with Candy Burris, is the ability to manage others and just trying to, and I would say that Candy does that. Like she's able to manage other people and then tries to like push other people into like her family members. Like I see the way that she handles her daughter to push them to their own limelight and, just their own personal best. I would say my personal boss lady would definitely have to be my mother. My mother is a lot of things, but my God, you cannot question her work ethic. She came over to this country from West Africa when she was 16, in the middle of the Civil War in Liberia. And my mom has worked, my God, nonstop. Talk about get it out the mud from nothing. I mean, she had nothing. And then, two daughters to raise, and the cultural barrier and her accent constantly being treated differently, based off of those things, people just speaking loudly to her as if she can't hear them or can't understand English. And English is definitely the primary language in West Africa and Liberia. But I would definitely say she would probably be my personal boss lady because my mom worked a lot and she still works to this day. And she was able to accomplish the American dream, so to speak, of homeownership. And I remember my mom, when the foundation of the house was being laid, she would say prayers and cry in the dirt, and I could not see the vision. So me and my sister thought it was so funny. I was like, Mom, this is not a house yet. And she was like, yes, it is. This is the foundation. She prayed for the foundation. Every stage of the construction, my mom prayed. She wrote prayers. My God, got the house blessed like twice. And that was her dream come true. And she is still in that house 30 plus years later.
Wow, that's great.
So she's my personal boss lady. I would say my professional boss lady is hands down the Queen Oprah. I would say I was obsessed because Oprah had this story of coming from nothing, right? To where the vision for her life, you could see how it could be confined based off of the reality of her own fear. Like her grandmother was like, look, Oprah, you know, you can become a maid just like me. And for Oprah to be able to see outside of that sphere and just grow herself is nothing but the grace of God. But I would say professionally, she is
Yes.
what I would look up to as a boss lady.
Excellent.
So we've covered the history of our own boss lady. We've covered our personal and professional boss lady aspirations, the people that have motivated us. What is next for Madam Cassie, the boss lady, the boss herself? What is next? So we see where you've come from. We know that what you deem as the boss lady. What is really next for you? What's the challenge now, and what's the next step for you?
I'm not sure what my next step is. I've gone from here to there, and God continues to elevate me higher and higher. And so I don't know what He has in store for me, but I'm prepared for whatever it is, whatever challenge He has. I think that everything He has taught me has prepared me for something that He really wants to do in me. And so I'm waiting to hear what that will be, and I'm up to the challenge.
Amen. A woman patiently waiting. A woman
Yes, I
patiently
am
waiting on the
patiently.
Lord.
They that wait.
They that wait.
They that wait.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President Letitia, what is next for you?
Well, so as you all know, I conclude my presidency with Women's Council in August of this year, and it has been a wonderful journey. But what I know about my life is that it has been a stepping stone. So I've always known that, as I said, everything is a building block for me. It has been my entire life. So now what I have to do, because I'm also a leader in my community, and it's a community that was established after World War I, and the residents came and established, and it was its own city, Acres Homes, Texas. And I am a leader in that community. We have over 29,000 residents, and it's 9 square mile radius.
Excellent.
So right. So where I am, while I am the current sitting president there, I have to make a decision on how I'm going to take that and where I am going to take it. My community has been extremely important to me. My grandparents settled in that community in the 60s. And they have been there ever since. So where I believe, because I can never dream as big as God has planned for me. But as of today, where I believe is that I will be serving my community locally after my administration is done, and that I will be working to make a better tomorrow for our youth.
Excellent.
And for our residents. I understand the importance of, when you make it, being able to reach down and do the same for others. So that is correct. And I realize how important that is. And I realize how important it is for young girls to see someone from the same place that they're from actually being successful. So I don't take that lightly, and I don't take it for granted. But I do know for certain that it will be within that realm.
Very good.
Amen. Would you say, this kind of leads me into my next question? Would you say that is that what you want to be a part of your legacy? Is the work that you do in Acres?
Absolutely. So again, all of the things, I never take anything for granted, and everything is equally as equally important. But when we talk about legacy, I absolutely do. I think that when you grow up in a low to moderate income community, so often people believe that your destiny is set for you due to your the numerics of your address, and that is not true. You know, as women, and especially as African American women, we are survivors, we are leaders, we are parents in the house. You know, we are the mom, we are so much, and we just need to believe it individually. So when we talk about having that as a legacy, that is why that is so important to me. I do not think that I am here just because I work hard, because I know that I work hard. I don't need anybody to tell me that. But I think that I am here because God has a bigger message to send to someone. And whomever that is, I'm willing to be the vessel for that.
Very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amen. Amen. See,
So,
if there was one thing, because obviously you have been blessed to be on this wonderful national platform for so long, and to be able to serve not just our community, but specifically women in our community. What is the one thing that you would want people to know about you as your legacy concerning Women's Council of National Association of Real Estate Brokers?
is that question to the, who is that question to?
That is to
Madam
you, Madam Cassie.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? When I joined the Women's Council, I said that is a group of professional women. And I never knew that I would get to be the chair. I just knew that I was going to be a president, because that was my goal locally, to be a national president. But then, you know, my hats off to Madam Evelyn and Madam Katrina and Madam John. They kept pushing me to go higher and higher. And so I've been successful to be a chair for 5 different presidents. They're all different personalities. And so to me, I attribute that to God. Obviously, he saw something in me that he felt I could be a leader to those ladies, knowing the vision of the Women's Council. And so I would just like to be able to input into somebody else within the Women's Council the experience that I've shared as being the chair of the Women's Council, the greatest organization of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers.
Amen. Amen. So you want to leave behind to the other ladies that are incoming or upcoming the joy and all the different types of perspectives of your experiences that you've had in the many years that you were blessed enough to be able to serve this wonderful organization. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Well, I didn't want to take up too much time. And I think that's a wonderful note to leave off of. I think for me, what is next is really just being more present. And I know that doesn't sound grand enough, but I would say just being more present. I think I've spent so many years working that I haven't been able to be more present. And I'm looking forward to making just more connections with people on a more human level, and be able to just be more involved really on a day-to-day basis, not just in my personal life, but in the extracurricular activities that I do, especially with Women's Council of NAREB, to be able to dive in more and have more time and kind of push, I wouldn't say push work, but just be able to spend more time with the things where my heart really lies. So I would say that would probably be my goal as this goes. And for my legacy, I think that I would just want people to know that I just have a good heart and that I just really care. And that's really just it.
That's great. That's great.
That is really it. But Madam President Letitia has put together a wonderful series of episodes that we have coming on. And so the following in 2 weeks, Thursday, April 13th, we're going to be diving into the challenges in the workplace, which is a really multi-level conversation especially when you're discussing real estate. And just like you said, Madam Cassie, hopefully you can come on for that to discuss in-depth review of the challenges that we face in the workplace and how we can overcome that and advocate for ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, great. Madam President, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Well, and look, not to name drop, but to name drop. So on these episodes, we are featuring people like Miss Taliba Woods. LaTanya Donaldson will be back joining us as our co-host to the Professional Women in Real Estate. And we definitely cannot forget about Sarita Battles.
Yes.
So, and Loretta Williams from Truist Bank. So we are bringing out, and let me not even forget Viola Solomon. Like, we are bringing out the bosses, like all of the bosses. So that's what this series is all about. We are just, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I am excited about what is to come and the things that we will dissect in each of these episodes for those upcoming leaders, for that young girl that's sitting back thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or thinking about becoming a CEO or a CFO of a Fortune 500 company. Come on now, that is what we're talking about. So we will be in it, and we will be in it very deep. So guys, pull out your rain boots and your raincoat and be prepared to receive everything that these ladies have to share. That is all. I will pass it over to our Madam Chair. And look, we're going to get out of here because we want to hold you all day today, because the next episode is when we're going to keep you on live.
All right, there.
Right.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Madam Tanya, thank you for your vision. I'm excited about the boss ladies and the ones that you're going to be bringing in, and the things that we had to do to break the glass ceiling, because it was hard to break the glass ceiling. But you need to know that once that ceiling is broken, the windows of heaven are open, as they say, and God is pouring out many, many blessings. So I'm excited about where we're going to go. I hope that the people who are listening know there is no limit. You're your own limitation. The sky is the limit. And so we want to see you soar in what you're going to be doing. And so thank you, Madam Tanya. Thank you, Madam President. I do apologize for my voice. The pollen is not my friend during this season, but I made a decision. I'm going to get on anyway, right? And so I'm excited with you young ladies. You know, I'm senior compared to you young ladies, to see that you're coming up the ladder, to see your vision, and to know more than anything. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's going to always take you to the top. And I appreciate knowing that each of you have a vision, because you care. You care about the other person. You want them to know what you know. You want to bring them up. You want them to be inclusive. And so I'm not going to preach anymore, but I just want to say the Women's Council is the best organization. It has so many gifted women. If you could just sit down sometime and hear the history. You know, my grandmother was 98 when she passed. She cooked her own meals. She did everything herself. And so she was kind of like my person that I looked up to, that she didn't need anyone to wait on her. She just knew who she was. And so we want you ladies to know, and everyone listening, who you are, because God truly has a purpose for you. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam Tanya.
For sure. Well, thank you all. Thank you to our viewers for being here, but don't forget to tune in our upcoming episodes. We will post the advertisement on the site soon. We just look forward to having you. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to the Professional Women in Real Estate, sponsored by the Women's Council of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Have a good
Well, all right, ladies.